And we are up and running. Great, 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 great. Okay. I really like how the manatee turned out. I've got it like this is from yesterday. I I was so unsure based on the trace. And I feel like it turned out really, really good. I do think it's a more squat than a manatee is. I think this is kind of like a manatee doing a bit of a crunch, and I think they do get much longer than that. But I I with the moss, I just really, really, really like how this one turned out. Um, and good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. So glad everyone could make it. We're going to be doing some sketches of a bunch of different animals today. Not these ones, actually. These are the ones that we just did. But we're going to be doing the sketch of really, really cool ones here. Specifically, well, here. I tried to do a few yesterday, and the ice and snow kind of came down a lot harder than I expected, so I couldn't quite finish them. So we're going to finish them up right here. And this is how we're going to do it. Okay, and good question. I don't often sketch these with zero example. So a lot of times I'll have reference photos, like I take a lot of photos of Stellar Jays. They also land right next to me. We have a little bird feeder thing, and they are very aggressive, very squawky. Bears, we don't have right next to me, not all the time. So sometimes I will look up like a reference photo or two, but I try never to like copy a photo directly unless I took it or I ask the person who I took it from. So a lot of times, like the bears, I'll have a lot of photos. We've got a great zoo here in Alaska that does a lot with like animal rescue. So the bears I'll take like photos of, or I'll look up videos of like a bear. You know, YouTube's full of videos of bears doing stuff, and I'll try to make a sketch from the video. So when I can, I try to do that. But yeah, there's a million ways to do it too. And if you're not like selling or promoting something, like it's also 100% fair game just to like copy a photo offline and just use it as practice, I find. Lots and lots and lots of ways. Today we're going to be doing there we go. Four sketches of the, going to be four sketches of some kind of like mountain critters here. It's going to be so fun. I hope you're prepared. And if you have any questions on the paint and things like that, I'm going to be using this little paint set. It is not the fanciest colors. These are the colors that I'm using today. Put that right there. Here we go. These are the colors that I'm using today. I say this not because you need them. I say this just because people always ask. Sorry, unless you can see like 0.001. There we go. Here's the colors that I'll be using today. Let me just get everything up and running here. Let's see. Oh, gotta actually make sure that I can see all of the comments. And I am way excited. It's just gonna be a really fun little sketch of some cool stuff. Sorry, let me pay attention here in 1 second. I swear. What am I doing here? There we go. Okay. Here we are, and I gotta debrick the phone here. I find I get like way too sucked into Twitch and YouTube, so I often brick the phone. But except for this, when I'm making it, then it's good. But when I'm on it, I find I get a little bit too sucked in. Oh my gosh, you had cedar waxwings in the backyard. I love cedar waxwings so much. I'm not sure if I've expressed this as much as I should, but I love cedar waxwings. I should make sketches of those all day. I really should, just like a whole flock. All right, how are we feeling? Are we ready to do this? Let's make some sketches. Now, we have 4 sketches. We're not making these sketches. I choose these to cover up, make it a little bit exciting and different. We have 4 sketches today. We've got a bear, a porcupine, a marten, and a Stellar's jay. And that's the bear, porcupine, marten, Stellar's jay. Yes, 4 sketches. And we're going to do them in random order. I don't actually remember what is below there. So, unless there's any strong opinions of what one we should grab first, I think I am going to go for, let's do whatever's under door number 1. Oh, all right, we're doing a bear. Very cool. Okay, put these over here, and let's do it. Alrighty. we're just going to move that right down. We're going to get really close just so you can kind of see, fully see Mr. Bear right here. All right, I'm just going to try to make it a little bit brighter too for us. See if I can do that. Oh, that's darker. There we go. We can see all of that detail. All right, so we're going to do a bear. I'm going to get kind of into it here, so if there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to paint as a bear. It's going to be so fun. We are going to put together a coloring book that goes with all of this too. So at some point there will be the trace if you want to, and we'll make sure that there are replays as well, just to let you know. Okay, got to get my materials. We got brush right here. We got the bear. We are in good shape. Let's make sure I focus on said bear. All right, perfect. Okay, and I just lost my reference bear. Where's my reference bear? Right there. Here's my reference bear. This is what I tried to do yesterday. All right, ready to go? Here we go, and away we go. And sorry, just for the reference, so I'll start recording these so that I can put them on YouTube after the fact. So if I don't answer comments during the painting of said bear, it's because I'll record this. That way it could be like a one-off on YouTube. And so if you want to paint this bear afterwards, you'll just be able to find it there, and it will just kind of go straight through it and make it nice and simple. So I will see you after the bear. Well, I'll still see you, but yeah, if that makes sense. All right, here we go. We're doing 4 of these, so like hang on. Okay. All right, today we're going to be doing this here bear. I actually tried to sketch this bear out in the snow earlier, and in the snow, you can kind of see, got a little bit too excited, made for some interesting textures. So it's a little bit of a half-done bear. The eyes are definitely the trick. You got to fill those in, otherwise they look like Deadpool. But we're going to be sketching a really fun little watercolor bear today, and it's just going to take, honestly, about 3 colors. So I've got my little palette right here, but the main ones I'm going to be using are a burnt sienna, like a black or an indigo, maybe a blue, and maybe a purple. But for the most part, it's a pretty simple bear, and I've got him kind of leaning out through the frame, maybe hibernating, maybe just napping. But either way, we're going to start with a little bit of brown. Not too much, just enough to be like a bit watery, because we are going to kind of move this around and through. So we're just going to start with a ton, just going right up over the face. The beauty of this kind of setup is you can kind of be as loosey-goosey as you want. With a black bear, they are going to be mostly kind of like some dark black. Actually, I think it's technically like kind of red-ish hair when you see him in the sun, but it's like this dark black fur, and it's over most of their body except for their snout, which is just a little bit brown. And they have little eyebrows too, so we're just going to put a little bit like that there. But we're not going to mess too much with this yet. So we're just going to kind of put that first layer just to be right there. And then we're going to add all the other kind of color around that undercoat, you might say. So the undercoat could be any color from brown to purple. You can kind of, maybe it's just on your brush, so if you want, you can kind of get that brown over around. And the reason I'm not just going purely, black for the fur is because there are a lot of different shades. These are really varied critters, and they've got everything from kind of brown to red to kind of glossy purple in their fur. Ideally, you are not close enough to be able to see all of those colors unless you're in a safe place, or they're in an enclosure or something like that, because bears do not want to spend much time close to you. They're super wary of people, even though they do way more than us, and are just way stronger. But for good reasons, they don't want to deal with people or see people. So a lot of times the bear is going to see you first and it's going to disappear. And in Alaska, we have a lot of experience being in and around bears because we're kind of in their habitat. They're not in ours. Okay, now I'm going to add some purples just to kind of have just a few around here. And then when we come in with our nice dark colors, this will just give us some cool shade to work with. There we go. Maybe a little bit of purple up here, a little purple down there. We're just kind of mixing, just having some kind of just push and paint around, which is a good thing to do, to be honest, in just to start. We're just kind of playing. There we go. A little bit of our bear scooting over, and just like that, we have our initial bear. Ta-da! Now, if you're painting a brown bear, then you're basically done. But we're not. We're painting a black bear. Maybe I'll even add a little bit over here. There we go. Now, if you have a little heater, a lot of times with these layers, like they do 1 or 2 paintings at once, or, you know, kind of wait, because it's really going to be about the drying. We kind of don't want this too much wet on wet in this case. But while it is wet, we could always add a few little other details if we wanted. For instance, like the nose, black bears often have this like kind of streak that goes from the nose up. So you can always start to add, you know, either a little bit of lamp black or some purple or all of the above, but something slightly darker. And while it's still wet, you could do some of these little things, like kind of that little streak up the nose, something like that. You could always add a little bit over to the face. But there's no real like hard and fast rules about bears. They have lots of variation. They can probably tell each other apart really well, and you can see even when I tried to do this little sketch of the bear in the snow kind of took things and really ran with it. I was also painting with gin, which affects water way differently, and it still looks very bear-like. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways this can go. I'm gonna go toss this right down by a little heater here, just to speed it up just a little bit. But there's our snow bear right there. Put that right there. It's also probably because I live in Alaska, so things can either take a very long time or a very short time to dry based on how cold it is outside. But it does add character. It's true. Like a little bit of snow. So this is painted outside. Let's get a little bit of water. In the artist, it's watercolor, but it's very important to water yourself. But yeah, so painting this outside, the snow did some really interesting things. Like the snowflakes themselves actually kind of grabbed onto the kind of paint and then consolidated it and then dried. But I do love when you do paint in the elements, it's a lot more uncontrolled. It's a lot more, I don't know, rough, but it does add character and it's kind of fun. If you ever get a chance, I absolutely encourage it. Paint in some wild conditions. They don't have to be wind and snow and rain and things like that, but painting in spots where it's not always convenient to paint or draw or sketch kind of imbues your journey into the sketch as well. So if you're maybe visiting a zoo or a sanctuary or something like that, bring a sketchbook. It kind of helps you see things a little bit differently sometimes, which is really, really, really fun. Okay, we'll go see if that bear has had quite enough dryness. Let's see how it looks. You can always tell, you can either like touch it or you can use your eyeballs, and if it's sort of shiny, you can see there's a couple of shiny areas. That's usually where the water is, but otherwise you can kind of give a little feel test and start to get kind of a good sense for it, I find. All right, the next steps are we're going to start to add, like I said, there's only going to be like 3 colors in this bear. It's basically brown, purple, and like a dark. I say a dark because I'll be using lamp black because that's just what's in the set, but usually my go-to is indigo. In fact, my preferred color is indigo. I'm using not indigo to show that it can be done, but I'm going to mix a little bit of lamp black with like a blue or something just to make it a little bit more complex. That's kind of what indigo is. It's basically black, blue, and purple all at once. There we go. Okay, so we'll have a little bit of this. And we're going to be adding some layers just to kind of help the snout and the body and everything kind of all show up here. You'll see it's going to come to life in a really cool way. But the first step is going to be kind of bringing the shape of the bear to life. So here's the shadow, here's the paw. Don't cover in the top of the paw. Top of the paw gets to be totally free. We're just going to add a little bit here and scoot around. Let's see. Grab a little bit of tissue paper, not for the watercolor, but for the artist, Parnell. Bears are hibernating, but it is cold season for the rest of us. I wonder if bears get colds. Probably. I wonder if they get them while they're sleeping either, or if they're just like zonked out and don't even realize. There we go. A little bit of this kind of darker mixture. We're just adding it right over top. And we're going to avoid we're avoiding the areas where there would be a lot of light on our bear. It's like this, something like this. See what's going on here? Here we go. Okay, so something kind of like this. And then rinsing off my brush, dabbing it even a little bit. I've got some tissue paper here for not the nose. Dabbing it a little bit here, just to make sure it's not too wet. And then I can kind of pull, just using water and letting it kind of connect. This color is just going to be kind of moved up, just like that. Maybe even a little bit here. We'll add this in a little bit later. We're just kind of moving this color up. And I'm not going to worry too much about whether or not stuff is perfectly connected or not. Even here, I'm going to let those two touch. That's fine. That's okay. We'll come into something way darker. It is fur, so it is meant to be a bit fuzzy and blurry, which you get quite well when you do this stuff. I'm actually even going to cover up the ears because their ears are very dark. A black bear's ears are like, oh my gosh, they look so velvety. I would love to like, just like, you know, with a dog when you're like, with a black bear. But I respect and like my life, so I'm not going to be doing that. Maybe, I don't know. Like, do you ever think about it? It's like, all right, if you know you have like an hour to live, what would you do? Like, would you go skydiving without a parachute or something? Boy, if you had like one thing left to do, but just to be able to like fuzz up a black bear's ears, real tempting. Don't do it. Sorry, I should this is so uncondoned. In no way should anybody fuzz up a black bear's ears. I feel like I need to say that so I don't get sued. All right, we have our head. We're just kind of working over. Oops, here's a bit of blue, but just as long as it's something slightly darker, whatever you're using is going to work totally fine. And we're just kind of working it over until we get on and around the eyes. And in that case, we're just going to make sure that we avoid a little bit right above its eyes because they have these cute little eyebrows. So here we go, a little bit here, a little bit there, right up and over the eyes, or something. Even just like a slightly less amount of dark above the eyes is going to do just fine. Or none. Sometimes I feel like they probably don't have eyebrows you can really see. Until we get to the face. And this is where it's going to get kind of exciting. I'm going to zoom in because that's how exciting it's going to get. Yeah, it is the dog you can't pet. That's kind of exactly what it is. Yeah, they are the forbidden pet. And then right here, we're just gonna kind of make a bit more of a hard line because this is where the sort of brown of the snout begins, and that's legitimately what it, like that's all it is right here. Look at that. There we go. That is the shape of a bear. So we've got a little bit right here. Let me just focus in here so you can kind of see it. There we go. Is that working? There you go. So we got a little bit right here, and you can always use your water to kind of move stuff around. And if you're just coming in, we're painting a black bear right now, but we are going to be doing a whole series of winter animals, which is going to be so fun. So we got a little black bear right here. Gotta make sure I get those ears. Those ears are going to be way darker here. We're just kind of filling it out for the sake of doing so. And if you want, you can always kind of come in with a bit of water too around the snout. They are fuzzy animals, so it's okay to do fuzzy watercolor. There we go, something like that. Ta-da! And then I'm going to let that dry here for just a moment. And as you can see, this is about as far as I got on the snowy bear earlier. Did not have a heater outside when I did that one. Excuse me. But yeah, it is. I have to admit, like, I make really fancy paintings a lot of times. Even like this manatee that we did. You know, it's fun, it's fancy, it looks really good, but the ones that are kind of a little bit more janky, the sketches that have water droplets on them and are not perfect because the animal actually showed up or the elements kind of stepped in. For some reason, these just feel so much more personal and connected in some way. So way excited to to be able to do more of that soon. It's just a lot easier to do in the summer. Sort of. We'll see. There's a lot more bugs in the summer, and there's a reason that bears kind of just like knock themselves out for most of the winter. In fact, bears don't sleep. They don't just pass out. They're not like in full torpor. They basically just take super long naps. They nap something like 23 hours a day for months on end, really. Which is a pretty clever idea, depending on the winter. I've got to admit, I'm a little jealous sometimes. Whoa! And look what happens when you add a little bit of dryness to this situation. That's kind of, look at that crazy look here. This is what happens when I added a little bit of water. That is like a villain bear right here. It looks like it's got some crazy scar. But this is watercolor. This is what it's all about here. So now we're going to do another layer over top of all of this. So we've got kind of our initial layer where we had our kind of brown, and now we're having this, and now we're going to come in with like kind of the dark layer of the rest of this. And this is where watercolor really shines, is because you can just do layer after layer after layer. So I'm actually just going to grab a bunch of just full-on lamp black. Why not? And I'm going to be kind of doing the same deal, kind of going over this, just right there. I'm actually going to do the same in here, but I'm going to avoid my little paws there, just because I want those claws to show up. Not making the fanciest claws, just kind of the claw-ish shape. And we're using, this is full-on lamp black right here. This is about as dark as it gets. There we go. And then we're going to kind of carve around this little snout. We are going to be adding that nose in just a second. But by having kind of put these layers of brown and purple and all these other colors down, it really is going to kind of still shine through. Even the darkest watercolor is still going to be a little bit opaque, which is great. Because like oils are just like, they're fully, they're just fully in that color. But here we go. This is coming to life. There's this little arm, this little forearm resting its little head. And they do look like big dogs. I mean, bears are so smart. They're so cool. But they also play by a different set of rules, which is why it's really important not to treat them like big dogs, because they're a big dog that is more powerful than you could ever imagine, and much more unpredictable as well. Okay, a little bit there. We're just adding some water in now, and you saw kind of what a crazy thing that last water did, so we're not exactly sure what's going to happen here, one way or another. I'm hoping some interesting stuff happens, because I don't want it to be too kind of, I don't want it to be too rough. Like I'd like some dimensionality in it, and that's why I don't always use things like lamp black, because it could just kind of make things really flat. It's also really hard to know until it dries, which makes things exciting and also a little bit more unpredictable. So I'm going to mix a bit of blue into it, I suppose. Really, we're trying to kind of get a dark color here. And come back in here. I like those blooms. I really do. But I kind of need that face to be a bit more predictable here. There we go. A little bit in here, a little bit in there. And then some water to kind of smooth that all in. Bears do have kind looking eyes. They're tiny. They got big heads, big faces. But their eyes are just so, I don't know, they're curious. They're not mean. They don't have mean eyes. They don't have kind of dead eyes like sharks, as they say in Jaws, which sharks are widely misunderstood too. Don't get me wrong on that. But yeah, bears, they're cool. They're dream messengers. They have huge amounts of cultural significance. They're adaptable. They're smart like us. They are, yeah, they're cool. They're really cool critters. So okay, we got a little bit here, a little bit there. This is turning out interestingly, but there's a million different ways to do this. So if you are sketching along on this, definitely let us know how yours turned out. We have a really fun Discord. We have a fun newsletter. We're on social media channels. We love to see work. That's why we do it. It's just being able to see what other people make just brings so much joy to our lives. And you showing what you make could inspire somebody else to show what they made, that's like the coolest part here. All right, a little bit in here, just a little bit of some, this is just my lamp black, kind of scooting that forward. Now getting a little bit of water, kind of scraping off my brush, so it's like damp, but there's not, it's like it's like sponge wet, you know. There's technically water on my brush just because there is, but it's not too much. That's about how much I'm going to put right there, and then I'm going to put a little bit right here so it kind of moves. There we go, really subtle, really soft. And in just a moment, when we kind of add in the rest, especially the face, you'll see it's going to come right back. There we go. Okay. The ears are what are going to bring this bear in particular to life. You'll see. But first, we're just going to kind of dry a lot of this off just to see what happens, because I have no idea how this lamp black is going to react. And it's going to be kind of exciting. So here we go. I'm just going to dry that off in 1 second. We'll see what happens. That is kind of a fun fact. Yes, so one of the coolest people I met last year was Aaron Blaze, and if you know the movie Brother Bear, or his new movie Snow Bear, which is a short, but I suspect he wants to make it into a bigger film. That's my take. I think it's an Oscar contender right now too, as far as like short animated film. But really, really, really cool guy. He like hand painted and illustrated everything, which is unbelievable, and they kind of brought people along on it, so you can find a lot of his stuff on YouTube. But Aaron Blaze, super kind guy, like really caring, and just especially doing this to raise awareness about the plight of polar bears. But yeah, talk about, you know, making one sketch. Imagine making, I think he made like something like 11,000 drawings, I want to say. Some enormous amount of drawings to actually make this animated film. He's also the one who like worked on The Lion King and all these other incredible like hand-drawn kind of stories as well. So he's got some history in it, but it's really, really, really cool to see somebody do that. And then he's been really encouraging on like helping me see how to animate and be able to put some stuff on things like Instagram and help people kind of move those things around themselves. But as we do one bear, imagine doing like 11,000. Okay, so things are a bit drier now. And this is the danger of lamp black. I find it's just like, it's a little unpredictable to me, but I think we're still in good shape here. What's going to bring this bear, there's 3 things that we're going to add that are going to kind of bring this to life. 1, the nose. 2, the eyes. And 3, the ears. So kind of take a mental note here, because this bear is about to come to life. Step 1, whatever is the darkest color you got, I'm going to get a bit of that on the brush, and I'm just adding the the smallest amount, that's also the most concentrated amount, that still gives me a nice sharp tip on my brush. So it's kind of getting that water side of life right. You can see with like there's a little scrap piece of paper I usually carry around. We want that tip to be just like very thin, very fine, but still be able to have a bit of paint on there. And then on the nose, we're just gonna add, can I zoom out now? This is fine. On the nose, we're just gonna add, making sure it's nice and dry, a little bit of, it's just the shape. There's technically nostrils in there, but we're not going to worry too much about those right now. There you go. Just your nose, just like that. You could potentially, I think they've got a bit of a line in a mouth, but I'm just going to let that be assumed. Same with the eyes up here. Just the tiniest bit. Ideally leaving a little bit of white if you have any left. Otherwise, you can also add that later with a little bit of gel pen or something. We're talking just such small amounts of everything here, but it makes a big difference, doesn't it? And then in the ears, this is where it gets kind of exciting, because they have these dark velvety ears. So even though this ear might not be in shadow, it is just like velvet black. There we go. I wonder if bears get notches on their ears when they fight, like cats, or if their ears are just not fair game. They'll fight, but leave the ears alone. Same with this one over here. There we go. Pretty cute, huh? And then all you need to do is just Get a little bit of water. Mix it down, mix it through. Scooting around. You can even kind of like really mix it through as you need, but there we go. Quick little bear, fun little sketch, and it really all comes together just right in the last little bit. If you wanted, you could add some little bits on these claws too. They do have a really defined kind of paws, so if you wanted, you could always do a bit more over here. But I kind of like, a lot of times I kind of like the look of just like a little bit less. But there we have a really fun little bear. Whether you are painting outside and only do halfway, you can always kind of pick these back up. I'll be able to show you in a second, where even if you get this far, you can always kind of come back in and fill it fully out. And once those little last details go in, it kind of comes right to life. So there we have a fun little black bear. And if you do get a chance, absolutely send any questions, join our Discord, check out the newsletter, send whatever you got over. We love to see it, and what we should sketch next too. I really appreciate all and any suggestions, and hopefully go find some more fun stuff in the field during our streams. Maybe not bears, unless we're like high up and maybe they're behind glass, but until then, you can definitely follow along. Okay, and so if that seems like the end of a video, it's because it was. I'm recording these separately a little bit, so that way we can just toss them on a replay on YouTube. So that way, if you ever want to find one of these, you'll be able to find it, just because a lot of people are having a really good time like getting these little tutorials, and maybe like a Saturday night, they're like, let's do it, let's go paint the bears. So that way you can kind of pause and do those things. So we're having some fun with that. How's everybody doing, by the way? Let me go check in with the chat here. Oh my gosh, and Jen did it. We have a flying squirrel emote in Twitch. How exciting. Oh my gosh. I was wondering. Oh yeah. And Aaron Blaze, so cool. So I got to meet him. Like, he and I had he was nominated for everything at the Jackson Wild Media Awards, and we were nominated for 2 things. We actually overlapped once. I think he beat us in the one that we overlapped, but like, makes sense. Beautiful film. It's out on YouTube right now too. You can see it. It's pretty wild to know like it was all hand animated. I don't know if I could pull that off, but he was also just like a great example of somebody who's just like willing to show people the whole process, like just everything. I admire that so much, because I feel like that very much inspires me. But he's not like gatekeeping the knowledge, which when it comes to stuff like painting and watercolor, it's one of those things where it's kind of like we need everybody to remember this, because it's so important just for like people, I think. Yeah, but this was a fun one. So here's our bear. We are doing 4 today, so we're just gonna have to rack it through them here. Little bear, check. Put that right there. Let's see, what next? Looks like the next one we're doing is going to be the oh, it looks like we're doing a Stellar J next. Okay, this will be a fun one. YouTube friends are freaking out that the stream, oh wait, YouTube friends are freaking out that the stream ended on them. Oh, we did it? It shouldn't have. No. YouTube is still there. I think. Yes. Oh yeah, we're still live. Hold on. Please hold. We are frozen here as well. Oh, frozen here as well. Oh, I think, sorry, Jen, I think what's happening, I think, so Jen's on here as well. I think that they're talking about being like cold, maybe? If somebody's on YouTube and could let me know if you still exist, or if I still exist, I'd appreciate that. But it shouldn't have ended. I don't think I ended it. I think I just stopped recording, not stopped streaming. But now we're going to be doing our little Stellar J. I half finished this yesterday, if you saw it. It was also very cold and snowy, and the Stellar J that I was doing actually worked out pretty well. I probably could have finished that one, but instead we did a really fun, actually, can I find it for you? Nope. We did a really fun sketch of some like of the landscape, and actually I thought it turned out pretty well. So started with these, and then ended up doing a really fun sketch of the landscape. But fortunately, it's easy to trace. So kablam! And we are gonna make a little coloring book for this too. We have a really fun coloring book of the Backyard Animals series that you can find, and we're gonna be doing a probably a volume 2 at some point once we have enough other ones, because there's just like a lot of backyard animals, you know. Drink some of this, and then let's. Okay, we are still there. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh yes, so it was freezing rain. Yeah, I got to be kind of careful when I explain that, you know, when I'm painting outside or something. It's like I'm frozen, and then it's like, wait, what kind of frozen are we talking about? Okay. No. Be more careful with my turn of phrase. Yes, no, you're all good, Pat. Oh, sorry, Patty. Yes, I will. Yes, this is gonna be good. Let's do another one of these. And so, just for how this is working today, I'll kind of be going from one mode to another, where I do a. Oh my gosh! And now there's a bear emote on. Oh, so fun, Jen. I kind of go from one mode to another. So I'll be doing. I kind of hit start and stop. Just there's a. Take a breath here. We've been doing a lot of technology this last month, which has been a lot. So the reason that we could do that outside stream is because we did a. We like invested in a bunch of technology that lets us kind of stream from anywhere at any time. And right now, this morning, we were even talking about like, is there a way that we could switch between 2 cameras? I think there's. We'll find out. You'll see soon. But my dream is that I can just have fun studio time, but that I could just take you to these places and kind of show you them while we're painting. Because there's some really gorgeous places. Kind of hard to do it in the winter. A lot easier to do it in the summer in Alaska, because you get more or less infinite light, and the conditions are 50 degrees and not -10, so it's much more reasonable. And so what I'm doing here though is to make a little series of these. So we have the OBS, I think it's called, and then I'll kind of record while we're doing it. I'll basically hit record, and then I'll end up with a like the bear tutorial separate, just so I can put it on YouTube. So all of these are going to be findable on YouTube at some point afterwards, and we're going to be creating a coloring book of all of them right now as well. So yeah, we're going to be doing a coloring book. Ooh, we could do one of just birds. That's a great idea. Just yeah, we'll be doing coloring books. We're working on some really fancy technology to potentially even give you like stuff that could trace them for you. Most of the time, the coloring books, you like, for instance, like the manatee. You just take this, you print it out, you hold it up against something light, and then you can trace it, which is really great. But we're trying to figure out ways that we can make it even simpler. If somebody who maybe has never painted before, but the sketching is intimidating, so that we could either send you something that's pre-sketched, or if you have a friend with like a Cricut or something, that you'd even be able to like have them sketch it for you. So we're figuring that out. Jen is a wizard with all of this. Give us like a month or two, and it's going to be really cool. Okay. And let's see, this is going to be our Stellar J. Let me go check if I have any right now. Nope, none right now. They often come to my feeder, so I think they'd appreciate being sketched. I'll like hold it up to the window next time. All right, we're going to jump into this one. It's going to be very fun. I'm so stoked about Stellar J's. Also, thanks everybody for joining on a Thursday. This has been kind of a wild week, so just feeling very like lucky to have such a cool community, you know. I'm gonna go sketch with people just for fun. This is like such a great way to spend some time together. Okay, let's do a Stellar's J. Here we go. Let me see if I missed anything on the chat. Oh yes, let's get around the emotes. Oh yeah, and fancy cutout versions too. And to that, one day we'll figure out how to animate these. We'll talk with Aaron about how to do it. Alrighty then. Round 2. Here we go. Sip of tea first. Okay. Now this right here is a Stellar's J. I tried to sketch one yesterday, and the snow kind of came in and made a little bit of a mess of things. This one's actually pretty close, but I'm going to start from scratch for us, just so we can kind of get a good look at it. But they are really, really cool things. They're not blue jays, and they're not related to cardinals either, which are but more of a songbird. These are some really, really, really crafty things. They're related to like Canada jays and things, and they are sassy. Oh my gosh, they have some real strong opinions. Now, they are a bunch of different layers. So we're actually going to start with some light layers, and then we're going to kind of work our way further and further and further down. So here are my colors. Just whoop. There we go. Here are my colors. Oh, you guys see what we're sketching next. We are working with all of these, and we're actually going to be doing mostly with kind of a light blue, like a cerulean, a dark blue, and a black. So those are kind of the three colors that we're mostly going to be messing with right here. And I'm just going to zoom right in here so you can see really close, right down its beak. And so we're going to actually start with its beak right there. A little bit on my palette, looks like a bit of black from there last time. And I am going to try to find something kind of grayish. You can also make a gray by mixing a brown like this and a dark blue like this. And it should give you kind of a gray like that. If that floats your boat, you can also use like light black or add some water to black or whatever it is. They each have a grayish beak, and we're just going to kind of start that because we need it to dry so we can add the other layers. There we go, easy peasy, basically done. Now the other bits, it's almost like this is a bird like dipped in blue. You can kind of see a little bit like this. This isn't a great example, but they kind of fade from blue into black with those like nice dark heads. It's almost like you just took this bird and sort of dipped it in a vat of blue ink, but there's different colors in there too. So we're going to add some of those right now. Here is a little bit of our cerulean blue. Just kind of, you'll see in 1 second. Looks like that. It's this nice sky blue. This is in fact 2 sky blue, and we're going to fix this in a second. You'll see how. So we're going to add this nice sky blue right across onto the tail right there, and they don't just have it on their bellies, they also have just a touch on their eyebrows. You have 2 of them. Maybe you'll see both in this, maybe you see one. I'm gonna add, kind of give it a unibrow and cut that a little bit later. A little bit too much water there, so I'm going to suck some up with the brush. But they have a little bit of blue right on their eyebrows too, so I'll put that there just to like let it exist, and then we'll dry it off in 1 second. So here is our little bit of this nice blue right there. Adding a little bit of maybe some dark blue just to kind of cut things up, make them a little bit different. But like I said, they're kind of this bird dipped in blue, but it's the black that I think really makes them stand out, and that's what's kind of so cool. A little bit here, a little bit there. I'm just kind of getting a little bit of water on my brush, but basically just kind of scraping everything off, so it's really almost a dry brush, but not quite. I'll just push stuff around as I need to. Lovely. Okay, so something like this. Now if I want, and I have a little bit of, say, something dark on my palette, this is just a little bit of, I think, lamp black. While it's still wet, I can move a little bit of that in here, just so that it kind of fades in. And this will give us kind of that beveled, almost like that beveled edge of our bird. We don't need too much, we need just enough to kind of get it flowing down there. And if it does do some blooms, which is when it kind of like watercolor does that cool watercolor thing, all the better. Kind of gives us a random thing, and if it doesn't turn out well, we'll cover it up later. No one will know. But there we go. There's kind of the start of that transition. So right there, like that. I'm gonna let this just dry off for a second, but you can kind of see where we're going here in just one moment. Whoa! Uh-oh. Put that right there. Got a little tiny like heater down there which heats the studio here in Alaska, and sometimes it's a little bit too powerful, so we'll see how that goes. This one very much did not have a heater. I tried to do this one out in the snow as the snow is coming down. You can see there's some really interesting kind of effects on the bird where if you only have a moment, you can basically just do kind of 2 colors and call it good if that's where you are in the field. If I added legs, this would basically be a finished sketch. But these birds do live in Alaska all year long. They don't migrate like a lot of birds do. They come up to, like, birds will come up to Alaska, have a baby, have a snack, lay an egg, fly back when it gets cold. These stay here all year long, and they are these really tenacious, super 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 clever birds that are constantly looking for a snack, looking for just something, or demanding one. They have this wild kind of screech, and they are tenacious, which I love. They can be super annoying too if they think that you have something that they want. They'll try to get it, but they are, I believe, related to a bird called a camp robber or Canada jay. And there's like all these kind of Arctic birds which are very very tenacious because they have to be. If this bird doesn't get food for a day or two, it's gone. Just with the temperatures here, they basically have to eat almost, like close to their body weight to kind of keep on going, and so because of that, they've got to make it happen. All right, there we go, nice and dry. You gotta see the difference between these two. It's that black head that's really gonna kind of bring it to life. It's really really cool. So we've got this little bit of blue, and I put that up there so that when I add black and kind of avoid a piece or two, it will show up. So we're gonna add a little bit of our, we're gonna add a little bit of our, let's do it. Let's put the black head in, and then we'll add the rest of the pieces here. Yeah, let's do it. So we're gonna add a little bit of, if you have indigo, that's a great one. I've got some lamp black here too. I might mix lamp black with a bit of my dark blue, just to make it a bit different. But right up here, we have this nice dark colored feathers, and it's so pretty. We're just gonna go right up to the edge here. There are other feathers too, and it's got this great crest. This one's gonna kind of be blowing a little bit in the wind. But they have like this iridescence about them. So if your color is more blue than other, like, you're probably right. It just matters kind of how the sun hits this bird. And because we already did our beak there earlier, it will show up when we just sort of scoot around. Now I'm going to zoom in here because this is where it gets kind of exciting. The little eyebrows, which you usually only see when it's either very close or trying to take something that's yours. I'm just going to kind of highlight those by avoiding them. There we go. Something like that. And in doing so, there we are. They are really, 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 really gorgeous birds. Now I'm adding a bit of water here, just to kind of move stuff around. I don't want them, they're not like pitch black. They're a lot of different shades and colors, but they're just enough to be really, really distinct. There we go. And then coming into some water down here, just adding little bits. It will bleed in, it'll move around. You can also kind of add almost like little streaky bits just to kind of show where the feathers sort of mix into the rest. And when that dries, it's going to give us a really cool kind of interesting effect. Isn't that neat looking? We'll come in with the eye too. We'll make just a little bit of, all of this I think will dry a bit more gray than it looks right now. And we'll come in with that eye and really kind of bring it to life here in just 1 second. Now down here, in the wing, it's almost a bit more blue jay color. It's like this nice kind of royal blue, this nice dark blue here. So we're going to add just a little bit of this blue wing right there. Kind of scoot around. There we are. Really, I should put two of these kind of bickering at each other. But it's a good start. Adding maybe a little bit of water here or there if I want to kind of smooth things out. But you don't have to. There we go. Something kind of like that. And then maybe a bit toward the base of the tail as well. Something kind of right down here. I think actually the top of their tail is blue, so I don't know what I was doing leaving that there. There we go. Something. If you want to put a bit of shadow, that's always a good thing too. You can kind of add a little bit of, if you have maybe a bit of that black or indigo or whatever he's using for the head, you can kind of water that down, add a little bit of there. And then of course water, one of your best friends, just to kind of like move things around. It's called watercolor too. It's meant for water, but it does create these really kind of fun effects as you kind of scoot up. that is a nice looking bird. Not to like toot my own horn, but like, check that thing out. The next step is they have these dark, dark, dark legs, which means that we're gonna have a little bit of brown on our branch. Not too much, but just enough, just to give it somewhere to stand. So here's a little bit of brown, scooting up just like this. There we go. Right over to the edge. Nice work. Ta-da! And we can come into the second color in just a second. Once it's dry, we'll kind of add a few more layers. And you can kind of start to see, look at that cool like little bloom. You can always add in a bit of if you want, just a bit of water to kind of disrupt the scene, see what happens. And now I'm gonna go and dry that off lickety split. You can kind of see the difference. Like, this is sort of halfway done, which I think this bird works fine. As a sketch, you really only need a little bit of color, but it's these last kind of little details that are gonna be the real difference between these two. Oh no. Okay, there we go. keep on dropping that. Okay, so once we have the last kind of like dryness on it, it's just the eye that we're gonna add in, and then these legs, and that's gonna kind of anchor it into the scene, but it also kind of brings it to life. We'll also put a little bit below the beak just to show kind of that shape there, but it's usually these like three little things at the end of a painting that just bring it home, you know? So we're just gonna add those three little ones, maybe a touch below, and if you wanted, you could have always put like a bit of a background on there, but I kind of like them just sitting in open air. I feel like, especially in the snow, these birds just really stand out, which is kind of fun. But a good old Stellar's Jay. I will say, Stellar, not the most stellar, you know, typical colonial explorer, basically came to Alaska, named virtually everything himself. There's stellar sea lions, stellar sea cows, which are extinct now because they got hunted to extinction, which is, they're basically, you know, Alaskan manatees. Imagine something like this, just a bit more hardy, sort of floating around in Alaska. Good-natured too, apparently, which is so sad. But there's stellar sea cows, there's stellar jays, but these birds have been around long before stellar, and they honestly will probably be around long after us. They are clever. They're some seriously clever birds. All right, so here we go. Last little bit, we're just gonna zoom right in here. There we go. We're just gonna zoom right in, and we're going to add some last little details. You can kind of see, look at that fun way that color just kind of moved. It's a bit warpy, it's a bit different, but I love the look. Okay, we're just gonna add, maybe I've got a bit of, oh yeah, it looks like a bit of kind of some slightly darker sort of brown mixed with a little bit of that lamp black, just to kind of give a bit of shape to this little stick. Just waiting for those buds, spring, all the tasty things to eat. And now we're just gonna add a bit of those legs and a bit of that beak. So let me zoom right in here so you can kind of see. Bit of those legs, bit of that beak. The legs, very easy to do. Legs are just, we're just talking pure whatever's the darkest thing you got. Just don't mess up. A little bit here, a little bit there. You gotta get those toes kind of going over the branch, but we're just painting in the legs of a modern day dinosaur. And then the eye, actually I did that with pen earlier, and you can kind of see I filled it in. I don't think it needs too much more. I'm actually going to leave that because it's little, I mean, that little bright spot in the eye feels pretty accurate. If you want a little bit less, you can always come in and just oh so delicately fill that out and in. But it doesn't take too much to really make it disappear, so be so careful about that. And then I'm just going to lightly pick up a bit of something. I've got mostly just water on my brush, and I just kind of touched it to my lamp black, and I'm just gonna do something like that. But because we've got that negative space with the eyebrows, that's looking really great. We've got just a good looking bird, just like that. Couple steps, worth not overdoing. I'm tempted to kind of like retouch up on the eyebrows, but in a lot of cases, it's the simpler you can go, the better, especially with birds. So that is the difference between a bird with a couple layers versus a little field sketch of a stellar jay with one layer and a whole lot of snow. So this is just a quick little sketch. We have a whole series of all of our backyard animals, from bears to everything on the rest. You can find it on Discord. You can find our newsletter. And if you do make some birds, definitely send them. We just love to see the flock grow a little bit, and also see what other ones you want us to sketch. Drop us a line. All right, bird number 2, check. There you have it. I actually really, like, not to toot my own horn, but like that one turned out fantastic. I feel like birds are 50-50. No, maybe not 50-50. It's like 50% chance it turns out okay, 50% chance is like, and then of that 50% chance it turns out okay, it's like either okay or just like for some reason all the little wibbles and wobbles just like nail it. But yes, no, I appreciate the nailed it. Exactly, yes. I mean, seriously, look at that. It's like, look at like all the little details. I love, because like you can't like it's like modern art, because watercolor is just gonna do random stuff that you couldn't control, and it looks so cool, and then it just happens to be in the shape of a really neat bird. I love this little stuff. I love this little stuff. I used to think that like if I was to be a fancy artist, I need to get huge paper and like put a giant thing over the wall and just sort of splatter it, and then it all kind of happened to look how it's supposed to. But I'll be honest, I love a really tiny sketch and then blowing it up instead. Like, not exploding it, you know, but like scanning this and then making this a 10 by 10, I think is so much cooler than like doing a 10 by 10, you know, or like taking a 20 by 20 and shrinking it down to a 10 by 10 so it looks really detailed. I love when you can see these little details and kind of moving up a little bit. It's neat stuff. Oh, all right, 2 down, 2 to go. Feels a bit like an endurance event. We've got our bear, we've got our bear, our jay. Maybe, let's see, what do we hear here? Trailbound, maybe a sunset or mountain one. Oh, talking about emotes. I know, I'm seeing these like slowly come to life in front of my eyes. This is kind of wild stuff. Oh boy, I am feeling the voice go a little bit though. Let me see here. Gotta go watch the hockey game. Good luck. Who are we cheering for? Oh wait, right. The Jays. There's a mascot right here. Stellar's Jay on my roof right now. Hello from BC. Hello. They're kind of a northern bird. I like blue jays too, and cardinals. They're okay. Did I make the Blaines for the show? I haven't yet. No. I was hoping to. It's been kind of a wild week. But hopefully I'll make it there very soon. We'll see what this weekend looks like. Maybe I could try to sneak over there. I love going to Blaines, but it's a very expensive thing. We have a local art store called Blaines. They're great. Everybody should shop at your local art store. It's probably more expensive than like an Amazon, but you know, you're paying maybe like $1 more for a sketchbook, but that ends up supporting like a vibrant art community. And Jackie has a really cool piece, from what I understand, in a show at Blaines right now, so I'm way excited to go check that out. But it's expensive because every time I go in there I find like 10 things that I need, so it's a little bit yeah, like I feel like if I just had impulse control, but I think it's just like design. It's like a casino for artists, you know, like casinos are designed so that you go in, can't find the exits, and they're like designed to extract as much money as possible. And they don't even have to with Blaines. They're just like, hey, we have all this cool stuff, and it's like, do you take direct deposit? You know, it's such cool stuff, and just yeah, art stores, so good, so expensive, so worth it. Okay, and let's see. Yes, and we will be doing prints of any of these too. So if anybody's like, oh, I love a Stellar J, or maybe it'd be a fun card, or you're looking for something to spruce up the bathroom, who knows? We will have prints of all of these on the website at some point, probably, once I can scan them. Okay, round 3. We'll see how many of these I can get through. Ideally, all of them. That's what I'm going for here. Oh, all right. You know what's next? The marten. Oh, these are fun things. These are very fun things. These are just like vicious little fluffy critters. Yeah, they're very, very, very cool. All right, so this is the plan. We're gonna do a marten here, and then we're going to, the last one is the porcupine then, which actually might be the most exciting. So these are gonna be really fun. All right, and hello everybody. If you're just joining, we are sketching some fun animals today. We've done our bear, we've done our Stellar's jay, Stellar's jay, I think, and now we're gonna do a marten. We're doing 4 today, which is these fun little sketches of some animals. And if I end up repeating myself a bunch, it's because when we are sketching them, I'm recording them for YouTube, so that way we can put them online so anybody can kind of paint along. So if you think they're interesting, just know at some point there will be a YouTube recording and like a coloring book and all this other stuff to make it super easy for you to be able to like go sketch your marten. Go sketch your marten. It'll be fun. We'll see. Yeah. So we've got a couple down. Oh, it's like the time of year too where I think everybody's like vaguely perpetually sick. So we'll see if the voice holds out that long. I'm gonna make another cup of tea, I think. Does anybody want one? We're drinking Celestial Seasonings Tension Tamer today, I believe. Just out of curiosity. Oh, thank you for those. What is your favorite tea? I've been really into like the traditional medicinals. Maybe I have some over here. There's like a really, the traditional medicinals throat coat has been one of my like go-tos, but Celestial Seasonings is, I actually got to visit their factory once. It's in Boulder, Colorado. If you get a chance, I think it's Boulder, or maybe it's outside of Denver, but like definitely check it out. Celestial Seasonings has this amazing like factory tour. It's so cool. But I'm always on the hunt for some new tea offerings. I'm not much of a caffeine person. Yeah, like a cup of chamomile tea is about as crazy as I get usually. But I feel like Tension Tamer is my most recent one, Celestial Seasonings, and it was just like, oh, so good. All right, producer Jen is sipping some ginger aid traditional medicinals. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. The ginger aid is definitely the way to do it. Let's see, black Earl Grey chai and caffeinated ones. I can add cream and honey. That's honestly like, I should probably get like a little honey bear or something. I feel like that's a way to level up your tea game. You just start with like, adding honey to anything, just like kind of changes it a little bit. Let's see, Old English, Australia don't have that mini tea. That mini teas? I'm curious about a mini tea. Although I have heard that what we call tea in the U.S. Is not tea by like the rest of the world standards. So we have like little bags that are full of like dust, basically, that we put into our teacup and then put hot water onto it. And then in Europe, they call that like an infusion. Like I'd always ask for tea and like get loose leaf stuff and then with actual leaves, but they call the bag the infusion. And actually I had some people like looking down on me, like good naturedly. They're like, yeah, that's like scrap tea. Basically they like take the scraps and put it in bags and sell it to you. But like that's an infusion, so I feel like I should call it an infusion. What else do we got here? Newman's Own. Newman's Own makes tea? What? I love Newman's Own. If you don't know, Paul Newman, actor, made a foundation which basically makes all this tasty food, and then 100% of the profits go to charity. It's super cool. It's like you can basically donate by like eating salsa. It's awesome. And then they all have a picture of Paul Newman, like, but like, if it's like honey, it's like him in a beekeeper outfit or something. Newman's Own makes me so happy. I didn't know they made tea. Interesting. I'll check that out. Blueberry pomegranate with acai is the best tea. That sounds amazing. I'm definitely gonna be giving that a look. And then, oh yep. Nope, dyslexics. We call them tea bags. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So we're in the same boat there. A boat full of tea. All right. Tea. check. And then maybe a little snack. I feel very strongly about my studio snacks. A tea is like a must, especially this time of year. This is also a must. This is from Costco, although I think they make other ones. These are like, here, these, oh, that's a little too close. Oh, even closer. These, oh my gosh. They're the perfect snack. And studio snacks, so it's very important. So studio snack for me has to be delicious, but it also has to be something that won't make too much of a mess. So like, I have other pretzels. Sorry, everything we get is at Costco. So like, these are all enormous bags, because that's just like the only affordable way to ship and save in Alaska. These are great. These are very tasty, but like, there's all this coating. So like, they are just too messy. And like my criteria for a studio snack, delicious, won't get too messy, and then is semi-vaguely healthy, sort of. So like, these have been like unbeatable. I have not found anything that has been able to compete at any level with these peanut butter pretzels. Like, they're salty, they're vaguely sweet, they're good with tea, they're sort of virtuous. I don't know, like they're sort of virtuous. Their first ingredient is flour, so you know that's a good sign. And then like, they don't get your hands sticky. Like, I'm gonna eat some of these right now, and then I'm gonna go right to painting. And I'm not gonna have to like lick fingers or do anything like that. And they have a lid that you can just dump those on. But yeah, like Cheez-Its. Cheez-Its are pretty high up there. Not quite as virtuous. Cheez-Its are actually pretty sugary, but not the ones that are coated. Like, it has to be uncoated Cheez-Its. Corn nuts are okay. Carrots and some other things. I've learned not to drink wine while painting. I must be very careful not to knock it over on my art. May have happened before. Oh yeah. And just the temptation to like dip your brush into it. I don't know what is wrong with like the brains, but it's like, oh, tea? That's where it's gonna go. My husband calls the Kirkland peanut butter pretzels people food. Like kibble for humans. We go through a lot of them. If there's like a really big project, which sometimes, especially last year, the procrastination, but also just like I didn't set myself up for success, and we just have like really big just deadlines, and it would be like painting for 18 hours or something like that virtually. Not virtually, I should have, that would be a great stream, but just like I basically have to paint all day long, and I go through one of these in the course of maybe 2 days. It's pretty bad. Yes, dots are tasty, finger licking good, but too messy to do artwork is. It's true. It's like there are perfect. I don't know. I think this is it. Although I'd be very curious to try the others. Or why don't they fill these with other things? The peanut butter is great, but like, there's no reason they couldn't fill these with cheese. I think they're kind of missing out, like no, there's nothing else in here. But like, this is the perfect vessel, so why wouldn't you add other stuff? Like, can you imagine like a cheese one? You could just like, there we go. Just imagine this full of cheese or something, or like jelly. You could have a peanut butter box and a jelly box. There's like literally a light bulb over my head. These ideas are flowing. Okay, put some of these away. Maybe I should do some trail snack watercolors. Oh, I should. That'd be way fun. You could do like a big flat lay. I like that. Okay. Do like 6 more and then let's try. Martins. This one's gonna be fun. Maybe. They're very fluffy, so we'll see how this one goes, but I have high hopes. I also like the kind of broken edge here. It's something I've been trying to do a bit more of. But I love like the look of like the bear going kind of over the edge. It's like a simple thing, but it feels so personal. The peanut butter pretzel is not great for talking through, though. Definitely like a nice gummy one. There's like some challenge that you can do where you can, it's like you've got to eat 3 packs of saltine crackers, like the little ones, 2 saltine crackers. So it's like, can you eat basically 6 saltine crackers and then whistle, and you have 1 minute. And it's like, I think it's impossible. It's like the cinnamon scoop challenge or something like that. But it's absolutely brutal. Everybody should try it. It's a great time, unless you're gluten free, in which case your life is hard enough. You don't need to try this challenge. Okay. Let us get to it here shortly. I'm so excited about, maybe I mentioned it, but we have in the progress just being able to take the show on the road. And take the show on the road. Basically, we like live streamed yesterday outside, and it was like a nice camera and like a whole system, and we're just dialing it down, but soon I'll be able to like add more people too. Just like, I just love the idea of being able to bring another person out too and just do some more sketching too. It could be fun. What a fabulous idea. BRB. Uh-oh. Just gave me a fabulous idea. Uh-oh. Interesting. That's always a concern. Don't encourage Jen too much. She's gonna go down some rabbit holes now. Yes, am I still doing the Wednesday hiking sketch giveaways? I need to. Pardon. I need to figure out how to get that system going a little bit better, because I feel like I wanted to do something, but then also if you're watching live, I want you to be able to be part of it then as well. So I should figure out some way to do it. We have a system. We're getting there. We're also working on some other things. We've got some like really big stuff going on in terms of trying to kind of make some physical things for the community. Also, sorry, I should address it. Yes, I did misspell Trailbound Sketches on the little thing right here. I absolutely did misspell that. Did not notice it until somebody pointed it out like a week ago, and I've been too lazy to change it. It works within the brand, as I am very dyslexic, and like that just fully did not even just absolutely did not even notice that. I am a slave to the spell check. Like, if it's not highlighted in red, I just assume it's right, which is not a great thing for anything, because a lot of times it'll just be like the wrong word. I'll be like, oh, it's not red, so it's right. So it'll be like, I'll be like, oh yeah, I'll definitely be there, which I emailed to somebody or text to somebody, but what I wrote was like, I will defiantly be there. So I will defiantly be a lot of places. And in this case, this is Trailbound Sketches. So welcome to the live stream with Trailbound Sketches. Okay. Let's see. Getting their weekly giveaways, the challenge, the community global, and so we want everybody to feel like they have a chance. And so some of the cool stuff we're working on too is like being able to get the letters and things going back up too. So just being able to get stuff to people all over the place, and just getting those systems so that we're not quite as start-stopping as we have been. But yeah, you live in Anchorage, Jackie, so you should have the opportunity. We should make sure that at some point one of these can be a fair game. Okay. For snacks, producers done all about the gummies. Oh yeah, the gummies are good too. Gummies do work too, because they're not sticky. They're there, but they're not sticky. But also, it's, yeah, if you mindlessly eat gummy worms, which is what I would do, it would be just like one-way highway to diabetes. Okay, let me go. We got some light coming in. Where's that coming in from? Let me go see if I can fix that. No light in the studio. Yep. All right, we're good. Problems also have kids, but hoping to make and enjoy watching them on Twitch. Yeah, we're gonna figure out something. Probably. It's gonna be great. Ooh. Albany's gummies. Yeah, they are the best. All right. May I do this, Martin? A little break there. Okay. So if you're just popping on, basically recording a video. This is gonna be on YouTube. I will, so if I say all the same things again, that's what's happening. But you get it. You're all professionals at this point. Here we go. You ready to do this Martin? It's going to be a really fun one. Okay. So this Martin is going to be one of my favorite sketches, I hope. This could be kind of tough because they're little fluffy things, but they are so tenacious. They are like these little, I don't even know what you describe them as, but they are acrobatic aerial fluff balls that are just silent death if you are a ptarmigan or smaller. So we are going to be painting one in today. I've got all of my paints here. I'm mostly, zoom out here so you can, oh, whoa, there it is. I am mostly going to be using, for this one, we're going to be using a little bit of yellow, a lot of brown, a little bit of something black like an indigo or a lamp black or something, and maybe a bit of purple if you're feeling wild and crazy. And if you want, you can always put in the background right now, but I'm going to leave mine black because in the winter, black. I'm going to leave mine blank because in the winter, we are going to be kind of covered in snow, and I think that is where I'm going to place this Martin right now. So I'm going to zoom right back in. There we go. And let's go start with some of the basics. So I'm going to begin by kind of adding in a lot of this fluffy area, and some of it I'm going to want to kind of zoom through because I want that fluffiness, and you're going to get that fluffiness by kind of wet on wet. When it's bleeding from one spot into another, that's just going to give you that fluffiness, no hard edges, and that's kind of what I'm aiming for in this case. If I really wanted to be crazy, I would kind of get some fluffiness on the edge, but I'm not sure if I'm feeling that wild yet. So that's a tutorial for another day probably. We're going to start with just right down here. If you want, you can always just add some water as like an initial beginning. That will just kind of allow you to, if you come in with too much paint, it won't quite stick as much. But mostly I'm going to be mixing some brown right here. A bit of a messy palette, but that's okay. Mixing some brown, and I want it kind of lighter too, so I'm going to add a bit of yellow of some kind. Just like that. Kind of gets a bit of a blonde color. So we're going to add our little Martin. You can always add yellow on top. You could put brown and then put yellow on top too if you wanted. We're going to have our little Martin right here. If you want, you could add a banjo, and then you could have a Steve Martin. And then we're going to kind of move down here. That is a funny joke because Steve Martin is a comedian and an actor, but he also is a banjo player. All right. Right down there. I'm going to avoid this part because I don't want it on the snow. I want it snowless. There we go. Something like that. It is legitimately that simple. You can also come in with a bit more browns if you need, something like this. This is going to kind of give it that russet color. We have kind of our base layer, and then just add a couple more colors to see what happens. Its face is going to be darker than its chest, so it's okay if you kind of overlap its face because those colors are going to kind of darken right up, and you'll see. Might even add a bit of purple to my brown now. Whoa, too much. And that is because if I want this to kind of be a bit of shadow or some of that coloring, while it's still wet, it will kind of add that layer and that level, which is kind of nice. But for the most part, that's what we're doing. That's what it looks like. And we're basically done. Just kidding. There's quite a lot more. But this is a good start. While we're at it too, we might want to add a bit to the ears, but that's just because the ears are going to be relatively fluffy. So we're going to add a little bit of some brown maybe up here just before it dries. Just kind of, this is going to give us something to play with as that undercolor. A little bit of brown right here. There we go. Maybe even above the eyes too. Maybe even above the nose. You know what? We're going kind of wild. We're adding a lot of base colors here. There we are. And you can connect all of those too. It doesn't really matter because that face is going to be a lot darker. Perfect. That is looking great. So, pardon. Once we have all of that, and then maybe actually, sorry, now that I come to think of it, maybe we even add like a little bit of a shadow below that chinny chin chin. You're just kind of trying to get all, it's like going to the grocery store. It's like, don't make multiple trips while it's still fluffy, while it's still wet. Just get all the things that you need to. And then I'm going to dry this just really quick. So I've got a little bit of a heater down here. If you have If you have a hair dryer, that's a great way if you ever want to kind of make watercolors really fast. You can use a hair dryer, or just wait a minute, pause the video, get a cup of tea, whatever you're doing. It actually, patience goes a long way just in life, and watercolor is a great way to practice that. Pardon. And we're doing a whole series of these really fun animals, so you can find a lot of those. We'll have a coloring book and sheet and page, but so far we've also done things like the Steller's Jay, we've also done bears and things like that. But I just love these little tiny vignettes of these really kind of cute but very important animals, because sometimes you can see photos or videos, but it's the sketching of the animal that for me really lets me kind of like understand and see a lot of it too, which is really fun. That should be about all it takes. Just a quick little blast of heat sometimes. Works for the cat, works for the marten. And so we have our little marten right here, but they have these kind of almost like pleats of where their fur is going to be a little bit more moving. So I'm grabbing a bit of brown, mixing it with a bit of, this looks like a bit of lamp black, but indigo or something dark like that would work just as well. And I'm going to just kind of add some little streaks, something like this. Not too rhythmic, not too all in the same spot. Just a couple of those little ones. You know when you have like a dog or a cat and they kind of like move and it's almost like their fur, it's like they're wearing armor or something and their fur kind of, yeah, just kind of creases. That's kind of what these are right here. Just added a little bit of those. Don't know if I love how that turned out, but with watercolor, it's really important not to kind of judge until the very end, because often it really comes together right at the very end. Next, I'm going to be doing some of these feet. It's going to be a lot of brown, and we're going to come in and add some darker stuff afterwards, but we're going to start with just a nice layer of brown. A little bit here, coming in, right over the edge. There we go. And you don't want to avoid those little claws. Claws we want to leave relatively white, so we're just going to kind of make sure that we get in there, but leave those claws right there. Perfect. Same down here, just without the claws because its foot is below the snow. This is a really great trick too. Say you're sketching an animal but you don't know how to do legs or something like that. Snowbank. Boom, done. No legs needed. Are you good at painting their tail but not their face? Snowbank. Running behind. Done. Easy. Okay, there we go. Our little marten has begun. Now their legs are quite dark, so I'm actually going to mix some purple now into maybe some lamp black or some purple into some blue. Basically just making a nice little dark slurry, but still getting enough water in there that it'll flow. I don't want it to be too overwhelming, because while this is still wet, then I can kind of go in here and add a little bit of these. Maybe I scoot around one of the paws like that. Maybe I scoot down here. But while it's still dark, this is going to kind of give us just a nice bit of that color. Maybe add some here, and because I avoided those nice little claws, it's still working just fine. There we go. There we are. If you're not too worried about the coloring and things too, this is also the kind of stuff where you could basically do this in a single layer. There's no real, you know, the martens might judge you, but they're a pretty small crew. So once we, there we go. Once we think it's good and a little bit fluffy, or at least as fluffy as it needs to be, let's just add water too. That's what I'm doing right now. Is we're just gonna kind of flood this thing with water and see what happens. Once it feels fluffy enough, then we can kind of move on to the face and head. So the chin I'm going to avoid because I don't want that to kind of be too muddled up, but let's start adding the rest of it here. We're going to add a little bit of brown up to the top. And they do have a darker heads than this. I'm just using this brown, almost like this base color. Whoa, whoops. It looks like, it's like main issue. You can see I just went way beyond where its head was. The beauty of fur is it's pretty forgiving. We're just gonna see what happens. I'm not gonna try to like hide that or kind of mop it up. I'm just gonna leave it. We'll give it a higher forehead. Why not? And I'm going to add a little bit of this in here. We've got our ears, and it's by what I'm not painting in that will give them that fluffiness, especially because we already added that like good little bit of kind of a secondary color, a lighter color, just to sort of hide that. Here we go. What do you think of this? So we got this nice little bit here. We're going to be fast because there is some stuff that we want to do while it's wet. So we're going to add all of this in, avoiding that little white spot in the eye. That's the one thing that we do not want to paint in right now, is that little white spot in the eye. If you do, that's okay. You can always come in and just add a little bit of white colored pencil or something like that later. It's not actually the biggest deal. But while it's still wet, I'm going to get a little bit of water, mostly like wiping all of it off, and I'm going to add a little bit of this right here. And this way it's not just like a pure hard edge, and it'll kind of fluffy around, so to speak. That's lovely. There we go. Same down here. We're just going to move on. We're going to keep on going. And then we're going to add a little bit of these kind of face markings, which is more just, I think they're like their faces, but virtually entirely brown. Now, this nice blondness that I had, I think I kind of got rid of all of that by accident. This might not be the tutorial to follow for accuracy, but let me just show you just what I would do. So adding a little bit of maybe some yellow now in here. The kind of niceness with watercolors, if you don't like how something's going, you can kind of just ruin it, and it might make it better. I don't know of any other medium where if it's not going well and you just threw a bunch of water on the canvas, it might be entirely perfect. Definitely wouldn't work with oil, but yes, we're gonna give this a go where I've just kind of put a bunch of water here, and hopefully it kind of mixes and moves and matches. But if yours did go well, maybe leave it alone and don't do what I'm doing. Put a little bit of, let's see, a little bit more paint on this side just to see if I can make that contrast. A lot of times too with these paintings, the real trick is just focus on the face. That's all that anything is ever really going to look at. So if the body is a little bit more abstract, that's okay. It's all right. So we're moving through here. The next bits are going to be to add some of these little bits of tone and color, but they are all mostly in the shadows here. So we've got a bit of purple, and I am just going to add some purple in here. I'm going to add a little bit on the side here, something like that. And as you can see, these are all definitely too not wet. And I'm going to want this a lot kind of more flowy, but we're going to come in with some water so fast and be able to fix that right up. Let me show you how that works. There we go. So we've got just some little bits of color here, but then I can come in with just some water really on one edge and just touch that up, let it kind of set it off. It's kind of depends on how fluffy you want it. You want some hard angles, but mostly you want some fluff in there, and that's what the paint is going to be doing for you. There you go. Just like this, just like that. There we go. And it's what we aren't painting in that is going to kind of show off. By putting shadow in one place and not in another, that's going to kind of give it that texture. There we go. That's kind of working. At least Martin shaped. And then we're going to let this dry, because the final things that we're going to add are going to be those hard details. So a little bit of some fur texture, a little bit of the mouth, but it should kind of all come to life here in like the last few brush strokes. So we're going to see how that works, but it's very important to let it dry fully because it will dry darker. So take a look at right here, and then I'm going to go put this thing to, oops, looks like I missed a little bit on this near this eye. Then I'm going to go let this dry here, and we'll see it could look entirely different. You can see a lot of difference too. For instance, like here is the Steller's Jay that I did while in the field. It was just like a quick one, didn't have much time, basically 2 layers, and it still looks like a nice bird. But then, 2 or 3 more layers in, and it just like, it's those last layers. And there's always that kind of meme of the person digging and they turn around right before they get to the jewel. And watercolor is kind of the same. Like a lot of time it's just like these last dark layers that either make it or break it. A lot of times it is, it looks like this, and then I add one more layer and it's fully, entirely, completely ruined. But often it doesn't look complete until you get those last couple little layers, and then it really comes to life. And it's just that patience to know, and it takes time and mistakes to see. Okay, now let's see how we're looking here. Do you remember what it looked like earlier? Still a little bit darker. It looks a bit, well, it looks very Gremlin-esque right now. Oh man. But let's see if we can kind of pull this off with these last little layers. So just feeling, yep, oh, still very much dark or wet. I'm gonna try something with this one that I didn't try at the bear. I'm going to add just a little bit of shadow. There's a bit of blue, a little bit of probably some lamp black, and a lot of water. And I'm gonna try to add just a little bit of shadow here, just like this. It's not much, but it should be just enough to give some depth to, oh, I went right over those claws. I'm gonna have to fix that here. It should be just enough to give some depth to this snowbank, and a bit of liquid right there just to kind of get it going, but just enough depth to our snowbank there to kind of bring it to life. Now, when it comes to the actual face here, this is going to be sort of the exciting part. I'm just going to, looks like we're dry right there, dry on the eyes, dry on the ears. So we're going to see if we can kind of bring this to life in the next like 3 or 4 brush strokes, basically. We're going to add the nose, the eyes, the mouth, and the ears. And I'm hoping that that is kind of what does the trick. We might come in and touch up a little bit down here on the body as well. But you can always kind of go a notch darker. Can't go back, but you can always kind of go a notch darker and rework everything. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of some lamp black right here. Kind of mixing it together with what a little bit of brown on the palette and some purple looks like. Just to kind of cut it. I never like to go too dark. There we go. So here is our beastie here, and I'm going to be going kind of the top down just so I don't come up and smudge it up with my hands. So we're going to add a little bit into the ears. We've already done some good work, but we're going to add just a little bit of this into the ears, and that is just to kind of help showcase those, well, one, those deep dark ears, but also the kind of fluffiness of everything else. There we go. So something like this. And by having dark ears, that will make everything else that looks too dark a little bit lighter. Looks kind of wild, but it should dry and work in that. Next, we're going to do the eyes. This is terrifying. The eyes are like the windows to the soul and really easy to mess up. I've got a lot of very concentrated paint and a tiny bit of water on here, and I'm basically just going to go just around, just enough. I filled them in with pen earlier, and you could always, that's always an option. But I want just enough with a little bit of white to kind of show that little bit of the eye. There we go. Depending on how you kind of put that angle on the top of the eye, that is what's going to make it look either mad or angry or feisty. It's just kind of what humans see with eyebrows. Doesn't really translate to animals always. It's more anthropomorphic, but it works. So there we go. A little bit in the eyes. Now the nose. Next darkest part. Right here. There we are. We're just going to do kind of half the nose. And then we'll come back up in just a second for the rest. And then the mouth. Just adding a little bit along the mouth. This is where it gets really concentrated. There we go. And now I'm rinsing off the brush. I'm wiping off the brush, so it's almost completely dry. And I'm coming in here just to kind of add right below the mouth, so it kind of almost fades down. And then I'll just kind of kick it up here on the sides. There we go. Not so much a smile, but just kind of like getting into the right shape. And we're gonna trim up that chinny chin here in just a second. But it's working. If you want, you could also add a little bit, once again, just pure water, up towards the top of the nose. Something like this, just so it can kind of flow up a little bit if you want, but just kind of leaving a darker section, a lighter section of the nose does wonders. It's coming to life. It's getting there. I think there's a couple things that we could do that would really add a little bit more panaz here. So we're gonna do a little bit of that right now. Again, just a little bit of that slurry of what I had. Kind of looks like a bit of indigo, a little bit of everything, just something slightly darker. Grab a little bit of that onto the brush, and now I'm gonna add just a little bit to this side, a little bit to this side, and I'm gonna kind of round off that little chinny chin chin. They don't have huge chins. They do look fluffy, kind of like a little cat chin. Now we're gonna add something like this, and I'm just gonna kind of move down. This is kind of damage control a little bit because I'm not super happy with how the chest turned out, but that's okay. This is where watercolor like shines, is you can kind of keep on tweaking and changing and rearranging. It's also where it doesn't shine because you can also like mess all this stuff up royally. But by doing this, I think I'm gonna be good. Here comes a little bit of water. We're just kind of, you're just seeing this like slowly come to life here. There we go. Adding a little bit of water. We'll stick mostly to, say, this side here, just to give it a bit of a direction. They do have these light chests too, so we are going to make sure to have some of that, but we're going to make a light chest by making the rest of the marten very dark. There we go. Something like this. Nice work. Okay. And then a little bit of this, kind of moving down. Here we are into the legs, which are very dark, all things considered. Now we're just basically going to make almost lamp black here. We're gonna kind of lean into it. Oops, looks like I got a little bit of water there. That's all right. If you have a bit of tissue paper towel, you can always just kind of. Oh, and sometimes you can't, but that's okay. And then we're gonna kind of lean down into this leg with some of these really dark things, and that is what's going to make the rest of it look so light. There we go, something like this. And then same over here. We're going to lean right into this. There we go. And that's going to kind of lighten up everything. The beauty of watercolor is, if it turns out well, you get a pretty picture. If it turns out badly, you get a great lesson, which is oftentimes more valuable than a pretty picture. You don't learn much from pretty pictures. So, so this is kind of being a good lesson for me. It didn't quite start exactly where I wanted to go, but I do like how this is turning out now that I've got a little bit more color and contrast and darkness in there. It's kind of going for more of a blonde marten, but I'll stick with a nice painting of a more russet one. Got a little bit here. Working our way down, skipping through those little claws if I can. There we go. Nice dark paw. There we go. Something like that. Little foot right on that snowbank. Make sure to kind of carve this snowbank out too. How's that? Up here, kind of got some weirdness going on with this, so we're going to just, I don't know, maybe add a little bit there and see if we can kind of trim that up. Something like that, maybe. I think that'll do just fine. Not too bad. The whiskers, they do have whiskers. I put some on here with just some pen earlier. You can always just add if you feeling like it. This is just a little bit of whatever I had left. If you're feeling really, really, really delicate, you can always do those in pen. Sometimes I flip it around too because I'm good at going one direction but not the other, and I don't want to risk it. So we're just going to do a little bit of this in pen and paint in this case. And there we have a really, really, really kind of quick and a little bit of a misstepped marten, but I love how it did turn out there in the end, which feels about right. They are tenacious creatures. They're not really going to do what you want them to necessarily, and they kind of go their own way. And in this case, that was absolutely no different. But if you get a chance, let us know how yours went. We've got a really cool Discord. We've got a great email newsletter. And on socials, of course. It's really fun to see each of these because every watercolor is totally different in the wild. It's like a fingerprint. They're never going to be the same. So definitely give us a look. You can also find the coloring book and all kinds of other stuff on our website. And you can go there and let us know what else you want us to sketch. Okay, Martin, down. Check. Zoom out. Yeah, that one did not go high planned at all. But I actually really like how this turned out. This feels fully accurate for some reason. They are interesting little critters. I wouldn't want to mess with one. Like, it's a good thing they're so small, because like their brethren are, you know, wolverines and stuff like that, and those you definitely don't want to mess with. Oh my gosh, it's so scary. Okay. Let's see. So, okay, we've got our marten. So the next one is going to be, well, the next one is a porcupines. I feel like the second to last is always the hardest. So if, yeah, let me show you. The porcupine, this might be my favorite one. The one I'm both most excited for and most scared to mess up. Look at that. Oh, right? Whew, that one is going to be so cute. Oh my gosh, porcupines are so cool. I have a friend, so one of my brother-in-law's good friends works at the Alaska Zoo and is like one of the main educators with the porcupine side of things, which are very common up here. It's like they're right above maybe like snowshoe hares or something, as far as like they're kind of all over the place. And in the East Coast too. It's like porcupines have done remarkably well. I'm glad. I feel like they've really figured their game out. The amount of dogs that have been quilled by porcupines is ridiculous, but like it's fair. I get it. But they are, gosh, they're just like so bumbling in like the cutest ways, which you can be when you are covered in quills, like when you're a human manticore. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna be sketching next. How's everybody doing? We ready for the last one? It's been kind of a marathon here with a little bit of painting, but a fun one. Definitely glad that we ended up sketching a landscape yesterday. I didn't try to make it through all of these. I think that would have kind of broken me. Some of the porcupines on the East Coast are the same size as a Labrador dog. Oh, dang. That's huge. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, we've had some porcupine stories. Oh, if you've ever had to pull porcupine quills out of a dog, you know. All right. Love porcupines. They're so cute. What are they in French? I always remember, like I used to work really internationally a lot, and everybody would always be asking, you know, trying to describe porcupine. I think it was the French. Like they would be like the porcupig. What is this on this road? Is it porcupig? Yes, this is a porcupig. Okay, here we go. There it is. Oh yeah, porcupis. Oh yeah, porcupis. Yeah, that's right. Porcupis. They should have a cooler name than that. I feel like the French would be able to come up with something fun. Like cotton candy in French is beurre de cacahuète, which is like I think beurre de papa. What's beurre de cacahuète? Is that peanut brittle or something? Yeah, it's like the beard, like Grandpa's beard is or like Papa's beard is a that is a like cotton candy, which is amazing. Like that's such a more fun descriptor. But I don't know what porcupine would be. Quill beast. All right, ready to do this? Oh yeah, beurre de papa. There we go. Believe it or not, I studied a lot of French, and when I am in France for long enough, I can get by, sort of. Like I can get by 3 or 4 sentences, and then they just switch to perfect English because, of course, they do. But like in Montreal, where they speak English but want to make you speak French, I can get by usually enough. But couldn't spell it to save my life. All right, here we go. So one more of these, and then we're good. All right, porcupis. Here we go. This one, actually, let me grab some stuff here. We're going to be using, let's use Uniball or one of these. All right, we got our stuff. Let's clean up our palette maybe just a little bit. There we go. palette. Slightly cleaner. Clean enough. It'll do. And a little bit more tea, if needs be. Bit more tea, if needs be. And then let's do it. Okay, here. Oh gosh, the voice. Here we go. Okay. So this is going to be a really fun one. This right here is a porcupine, or in French, the porcupis, or something like that. Anyway, realistically what they are is a tiny manticore. They are so cool, unless you have a dog, in which case they are so not cool. Actually, no, they're fine. Unless you have a dog that goes for them, in which case they are so not cool. But here we have a very fun porcupine. The materials for today are pretty basic. We're just going to need you know, something dark, an indigo, a black, something like that. We're going to want a dark blue, maybe a purple, and a brown, and we should be good. You'll also, bonus points if you want, you can use a little white something for the quills. So these are a couple different kinds of gel pens. This one right here is a Uniball. This is going to be very, very bright right off the, let's see if I can focus. Very, very bright right off the bat. These ones are pretty great. These kind of dry much lighter. This is a oh, what are they called? They're kind of little gel pen here. These are pretty great. And then of course you could always just use, if you want, just like a little, you know, white colored pencil. There's some really good kind of pastel pencils as well that are really, really kind of more creamy. But that will come in later. You'll see. If you want to be super wild, you could use Mask or Frisket, but we're not going to be super wild today. So, porcupine, here we go. This one, I'm actually going to do the background. We've been doing a whole series of other little paintings here, and I haven't really messed with the background on much of them. Like our marten, we just kind of like let exist in the, you know, in the snow. Same with the our little stellar. Whoa, sorry. Man-made earthquake. Same with their little stellar jay, or even the bear. We kind of like put all those in the snow. Our porcupine, I'm actually going to put in the forest, because they deserve it. They are lovely little animals, and I want to make sure I have some good trees to kind of climb up. So we're going to start by actually putting a little forest behind this little guy here. So I'm going to probably, how do I want to do this? I'm probably just going to add some, like a little bit of, I don't know, blue or something like that for our trees. And it's going to be different here because it's what I don't paint in is what the tree is going to be. So here, watch this. Put a little bit of blue. Avoid this tree right here if you can. I'm going to add a little bit of blue. Never done this before, but we're going to see how it works out. A little bit of blue right here. I come moving down. Something like that. But then it is the tree that I don't put in that will be what we see. So right here, I'm now going to put, there we go, something just like that. So now that is a tree. Kind of fun, huh? I'm going to do the same on the back as well. We're going to do that a couple more times, sort of, so you'll see how it all kind of comes to life. So there you go, that's a tree now. Same down here. You can mix that little blue with a little bit black, whatever you want. Something slightly off-colored here. And we're going to do the same down here. So we're just moving these trees kind of around. They don't need to be perfect. They can be a bit soft too because it's the background. And maybe we even, yeah, kind of cut this one off as well, just a little bit. There we go. Something like this. Lovely. Now in just a moment, once that's dry, we'll kind of add a few more things, but while we're here, let's add a little bit of some, we'll make this one a birch. I don't think they really eat birches, but we're going to add just a little bit of some birchiness to this one by getting a little bit of, what do we got here? This is burnt sienna. I'm got a little bit of burnt sienna to the edge. Doesn't need to go all the way around. Something kind of just like this will do just fine. These trees have these really interesting little kind of rings that kind of go around. So it doesn't take much. It just takes something like that. to make it feel like a birch tree. You can go above. I have it kind of cutting through the page a little bit here. So it's like, isn't that incredible? So fast. It's so fast to be able to do something like that. But instant birch tree. You can also do the same over here now, depending on how wet it is. It's just dry. I'm gonna wait just a second to let that really dry. But if you want to take it to the second level, what you do is you take a touch of purple. Not too much. You can see I'm going to kind of like get it a little bit more, kind of watery here. And on this side, when it kind of gets to this side, you just touch purple into that brown, and now you get a dynamic birch tree. Very exciting things. While we're at it, if we want, we can also still add a bit of a shadow of our porcupine into this tree. We're going like third level wild craziness here, but it's worth it. Porcupines are always worth it. So I've got a little bit of lamp black that I've mixed with just like a touch of blue or something right here. Basically just kind of making a nice light gray. You can kind of see we're just doing a little bit of light gray, something like that. And we're going to add just a little bit below the chinny chin chin. Maybe a little bit below this little foot. Maybe a little below this one as well. And just kind of creating a bit of a shadow below our beastie here. Maybe even like going down that tree, however you want to do it. This porcupine is going to be much, much, much darker, so we can kind of play with a lot. It's okay if we're breaking lines and adding water and whatever we want to do. At this point, it's really going to stand out, you'll see. So okay, so we got a little porcupine here. If you want, now is when we can kind of add this background. We're going to add the background in first because of doing stuff like this. You know, I went right over our porcupine, and I'll zoom in for you. Went right over our porcupine, and that's okay because all of that is going to be so much darker. But if you want, now's a good time. You can kind of add little bits of, I don't know, maybe some brown. Make a couple little extra little details for this tree. Put a couple in there. Sometimes they go all the way around. Usually it seems like they kind of stop halfway across. Do a few here. Maybe even one or two up here. There we go. Lovely. And then of course with these trees in the background you can add even more by then putting something slightly darker, and then you could add another tree, perhaps something like this, just to really make it stand out. Basically making abstract painting before we make our actual painting. But there we go. Nice little porcupine. Just waiting for us. Great start. So we're actually going to go really dark. We're basically going to make this porcupine super dark, and then we're going to come in with the quills. It's going to look weird at first. If you've ever seen porcupine, you're kind of used to these quills and these guard hairs. Technically, all their quills are up here and down here. Like all this part is not quite as quilly, but we're going to add all of these little kind of hairs all over the place. We're actually going to make the porcupine far darker than it needs to be, or like far darker than it seems, because these are going to kind of brighten it up and give us a lot of that look afterwards. The real trick is now that we put our shadow down, we just want to make sure we don't bleed our porcupine into the tree. Just giving a little test. Feels about dry. We should be in good shape. And so let's add some color. We're gonna start with let's mix like a brown and a purple. You could also do this on the porcupine. You could just do literally a layer of brown, then a layer of purple. Just making sure everything's dry there. That's fine. You could also mix them on the palette, however you want to do it. We're basically doing a dark brown is the color. And so I'm gonna just start. Here we go. It feels weird because this is all the area where the white would be. So it kind of feels like we're ruining our chance, but it's okay. It will all work out. I'm going to show you. Okay, and we're just adding some quite bold layers here because while it's still wet, I want to add a bunch of other stuff. And it's okay that like my details aren't in the perfect place either. So there we go. We'll do this. I'll have the tail jar in 1 second. It's a kind of weird looking look. I mean, porcupines are kind of crazy looking creatures, but without their quills, it almost looks naked a little bit. Now I'm going to add some blue. I mix some blue into our mixture right here. Scoot that down so you can see. Just mixing some nice dark blue into our mixture. I'm just going to kind of scoot it up here. I am going to add some quills out of the dark side of things because you won't be able to see the lighter ones on this kind of background. So I'm gonna add just a little kind of these little almost saw blade style, just little bits of edges which kind of go right off the edge, little line strokes one after another. There we go, something like that. Beautiful. And then of course this little face here, avoid the eye if you can. At least avoid the little white spot. We want to give him some kind of a little bit of breath of life there. And then of course top of the head, we're just working our way around until we go around the muzzle, around the snout, and down to the arm. It's so funny seeing them like this. It looks like a totally different critter, but it will make sense. It will work out, probably. I'm just gonna add a little bit over here, just kind of working our way through. It's going to be darker than you expect, but this might just be your favorite new way to sketch a really sweet, kind of misunderstood animal. I feel like you mostly only see them on like the side of roads usually, where it's like they've been hit by a car, which is so sad. They don't move very fast. And we're carrying a suit of armor, you know, what are you gonna do? Okay, now that we have all of that, if you want, you can add a little bit of some lamp black or indigo, or whatever is your dark color. We're gonna kind of come in here and we're gonna add a little bit on the edge, like here's our porcupine leg. Here we go, right down here. You can add this leg as well. If you want, you can add a bit by the face. There we go, something like this. And like I said, you're going to make it darker than you think it needs to be. Already, this is darker than I expect to see him, but it's all going to work out here. All right, right there. There we go. Kind of looks like just like a strange bear or something like that. But then, so we have that version. I'm gonna let that dry. While we're doing that, let's get the tail and the other feet here. These are its other feet, where you can kind of see it sort of wrapped around the tree as it heads up. Could be going up to get away from something, could be going up to just sit. In the East Coast, I was used to seeing them in oak trees. My grandfather had a really amazing set of woods, and we'd often walk back to this one really big oak tree, I believe, and there'd be a porcupine that would kind of live there, and we'd sometimes look up and see it, and sometimes grab its, like, not its quills, not from it, but there'd be quills that had fallen down, and it was always a very cool thing. Lots of poop too. They're not the most subtle creatures, but you don't have to hide when you have a back full of quills. That is not the strategy that they've implemented. That's a little bit of brown, that's a little bit of indigo, or black in this case, but we're just gonna move it down here, and it's got a bit of a tail. In this case, it's going kind of off the tree, but their tails are pretty flat. There we go. Grab a bit more of that black, and put a couple of these. And that's basically the next step. This is why this one is so kind of fun to sketch out. It's like, there we go. That's it. So I'm going to go dry this off, because especially with these kind of things, you can see just how wet that is. Look how wet that is. Especially with lamp black, it's really hard to know exactly how dark it is until it dries. Watercolor always dries lighter. In this case, it sometimes dries a lot lighter. I'm going to put that right down here. Just give it a second to dry. But I have had a lot of experience with porcupines. One of the really interesting things, and I do wonder if things like foxes ever try once probably, but we've had lots of dogs before, and one husky in particular who just couldn't help herself. Her name was Luna. Wonderful dog, so smart, basically a wolf, but like just couldn't help porcupine. Like she knew what happened. I think she got porcupined like over 20 times in her life and could not help herself. see a porcupine, you should have to go for it. And Leslie like got so good at some point where there's like a musher technique, which is where, you know, I think I'll oftentimes go to the vet, pay a bunch of money, anesthetize the dog, pull all the quills out because they only go one way. It's pretty terrible. But what mushers do, who have to deal with a lot of porcupinings often, because huskies, I think, cannot help themselves, is you put the dog in a harness and you basically hoist the thing up into a tree where their legs are just sort of dangling. And then they're kind of like, all right, let's do this. And don't feel too bad for the dogs. Like, this is usually like time 15 or, 10 or 15 or 20. So it's not like the dog didn't know. And then what you do is you cut to the quills. So quills, porcupine quills, are these sharp little, imagine something like this. They're like this. They're super sharp. They only go kind of one direction. So once they go into something, they won't pull out. They'll only go deeper in, which means that sometimes they can go all the way through a dog, which is really terrifying. They are antiseptic, so they're not going to get infected because a lot of times they go into the porcupine. Like, I think porcupines quill themselves more than any other animal. But in order to get them out of, say, a dog, what you do is you actually cut the tip off the quill because they're hollow. So you cut the tip off the quill, and that kind of allows them to be flattened, which means that they can kind of come out a little bit easier. But still, not something you want to do, not something you want to deal with, and that's why these don't really have to hide. They don't use camouflage. They don't make any pretend that they that they aren't where they are, because they know that they are one serious thing to contend with. We're just gonna go see how this is looking. This is what we're looking at. Just a little bit of drying here. Let's see, there you go. Looks like that did dry kind of nice and dark. I told you that the trick was gonna be kind of go dark, and I might have gone too dark even with that eye, but that's okay. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna add in some quills. This is the fun part, a little bit of the scary part, because it kind of depends. And let me see if I can find some. Well, we'll have to use this. I don't have much dark to be able to use this as an example, but let me show you the difference between all of these. This right here, this is our uni ball. So here is that line right there, just so you can see. Ta-da! This right here is our, whatever this is, Sufi. And that is this line right here. These are kind of tough because I think they dry light, but I never know if they actually went on in the first place. So, like right now, it might be on, and in a second it's going to be nice and bright, but also I have no idea. So we're going to give that one second. And then you have just a normal colored pencil. So something like that. A little bit softer, but a little bit more extreme, and sometimes nothing, but sometimes lovely. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a colored pencil, and then I'll move to this one. So I'm actually going to use two. We'll give it a go. We'll see what happens. And here's our porcupine. I'm going to be super zoomed in here because you don't really get to see the detail otherwise. We're going to start from, I think, I'm going to start like the least stressful part. We'll get to the head at the last. The least stressful part first. So they have these little, there we go, they have these little kind of guard hairs. You can kind of see some of that's coming to life. It's not bad. They got these little kind of guard hairs. So we're going to add just a little bit up here, something like that. Just little fun ones, and it's okay to put kind of layers and layers. Usually I say like do less, but in the porcupine's case, go for it. Add some detail. It's really fun. So here we go. A couple there, a couple here. We're just adding these little bits of quill. There we go. And their feet are going to be unquilled, so you can kind of leave their feet, and then especially this part on their head mostly alone. Their tail is the most quilly part too, but these are kind of little these like little rough hairs, I think, that sort of look like quills but are not. There we go, and a couple of these. Okay, so we got something like that. Here's the start of our porcupine. I feel like I should do something about that. That eye. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna use a pen here because I don't know if I could actually do it with a brush. I'm just gonna make that eye just like that, just so I can make sure that, there we go. Otherwise it kind of looks like demon porcupine. There you are. Okay. You want a little white dot, but not too much of a white dot. Honestly, probably could do it with this too. And then the next piece is I'm going to come in, and now we're going to add these really kind of strong lines. These are whatever your strongest white kind of liner is here. We're going to add those really strong lines right along the edge here. So kind of directional. There we are. Something like this. Look at that come to life. You don't need to do everything. It's okay to kind of sort of give the general gesture. There we go. More could be too much. You need just enough to kind of give the shape, but like also just enough to make it happen. There we go. And then maybe a couple down the back here. But you saw, because we added those kind of shapes with the darker ones too, that's fine. Sometimes, especially when painting on watercolor, I kind of need to almost refresh it. So maybe the watercolor gums it up a little bit, but we're going to do just a little bit there. A couple here kind of on its little army arms. There we go. And then to its face too, they do kind of nice almost like widow's peak here that kind of goes down like so. That's looking lovely. Okay. And then we got some down here, and its tail is the most, like its tail and rump is kind of like the most quilly bit. If you want to grab a porcupine, don't do it by that part. I think they know that. I think that's where most critters try and fail. And there we go. Just a little bit like that. And there's our porcupine. Let me see what happens when we zoom out. But it is so fun. I love these kind of animals where it's like, look at that. Oh, that might be a bit too, well, I think it works. It's fun. It's a bit rhythmic. If you want to make it a bit more natural or something like that too, you can always just add a couple little kind of side things in. Or like I said, the pencil is just a little bit softer of a line too. So that's a good way to do it as well. But there we go. A little bit here, a little bit there. Maybe some like little tiny dots, and you've got this really fun porcupine just zipping its way up a tree, minding its business, hoping other people mind theirs. Fishers are one of the only things that actually eats a porcupine. They kind of back them off a tree so they fall down, and then the fish can kind of get to the underneath part. But aside from a fisher, porcupines are more or less invincible, aside from cars, I suppose, too. But just a really fun sketch. If you do try this out, let us know what you think. We are on Discord. We have a newsletter, which is where our Discord invitation is in, and you can also find us on the socials. But let us know what you think we should sketch next. This is one of the coolest animals, and if you get a chance, maybe we'll be able to sketch one from life. You'll be able to find us live most weeks for 3 days, kind of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We should go sketch a porcupine live. That would be super fun. I actually really like how this one turned out. Okay, what is this? So cute. Did you know that you can pet a porcupine without getting quilled as long as you pet the same direction as the quills? Go with the quills. Yeah, that sounds like a dangerous proposition. I'd be intrigued to watch somebody else do it for sure. But then when they get like upset, so like if you try to go eat a porcupine, if you're a dog, and you try to go eat a porcupine, they'll like keep their tail to you, but then they'll kind of puff out their tail as well. And I think they try to hit you with their tail. Like they can't shoot their quills. Like echidnas. The manticore is based off more or less a porcupine. There's like an African version, and I think there's only one North American version, but or maybe there's a couple. But the like manticore, which is like a mythical spiked beast that shoots its quills and does all kinds of cool stuff, is basically just a big version of an echidna. I think echidna. And they can't actually shoot their quills, but what they can do is they can just like hit you with their tail, which I think they try very much to do if you get anywhere close to them, and they kind of puff it up. But their quills are used a lot in like Alaskan Native beads and some really cool weavings, and like American Indian just like artwork in really cool ways. And sometimes people, hunt a porcupine. Sometimes they'll grab them off the side of the road if there's a roadkill. But the funniest way that I've ever seen people collect porcupine quills is they just whap them with a styrofoam cooler. So porcupines are so slow, they're not going to get away from you. And you can get like a styrofoam cooler and just kind of just sort of, you know, poke the porcupine. The porcupine, honestly, it probably is pretty stoked because it's probably like, I'm defending myself. Like, look how great I am. But then all of these quills get stuck in the styrofoam cooler, and you just pull them out, flatten them, make beautiful artwork. So there's humane ways to collect quills as well. I do think the porcupine would get like, you know, it'd be like intentionally losing a game to somebody. It's like, oh, you're so strong, you're so big. But yeah, they slap their tails. That is so. I need to follow up with my friend who is like the porcupine keeper, because that would be so fun just to like sketch a porcupine from life. Like, could you imagine? And I guess they just like happily kind of sit there. You know, they're like, all right, whatever, I got a snack. This is a nice tree spot. Like, I'll just hang out. So I'm thinking that probably needs to be a thing. Maybe when it's a bit warmer, but like, that would be really cool. Let's see. I am checking. Missed all the comments here. Claire's Art of Hiking. Claire is Art of Hiking, by the way. When Max live streams, you might like hers too. She's different from Max, but also outdoorsy. They did at least one collab together. Oh, is Claire on YouTube? Is Claire live streaming? Let's see. Oh no, okay, on YouTube. Yeah. If anybody doesn't know, Claire Giordano, super cool hiker, Adventure Art Academy, good person, Pacific Northwest. Doesn't do quite as many animals, but like really cool, just like landscape and like pen and ink work. Very, very, very nice person too. Definitely selected all. Oh yeah, looks like some of those, the chat side of things. But okay, let's check out everything together. This was a high productivity day on the painting of animals side. Oh my gosh, look at all those cute things. Although the bigger version of these eats those, the fishers do. Not martins. Martins are smaller. But they're cousins. They're porcupine eaters, so I probably shouldn't put those two together. I wonder if bears ever go for a porcupine. Probably just once. I do think porcupines, there's probably porcupine, like I'm sure a lot of porcupines act as martyrs, where one will be attempted to be eaten and probably won't fare too well, but that bear will never ever go for their family or any porcupine again. Okay, show and tell. So we have our porcupine. I actually really love how that one turned out. I would love if anybody else takes a stab at these. Quill pun, semi-intended. But if anybody else takes a try, definitely send it over. I'd love to see how it turns out. I feel like this is something I could see doing a lot more of. And then let's see. Here's our little bear. I could put a little shadow there. I'll probably scan it first, but I feel like that one, I love the little blooms. I think that one turned out so good. The martin, this definitely was the most trouble, but I don't know. I feel like it worked. What do you think? It looks a little bit more intense. I find like martins and ermines, they always feel a bit more whimsical to me. I feel like this one looks a little too intense. Kind of like a school photo, you know, where it's like, yeah, it's a good photo, but like, why are you acting kind of weird in front of the camera? I feel like that's kind of the expression that I gave this one. I feel like in the wild, when I've seen these, they've always been a bit more, I don't know, whimsical, or like they have a bit more animation to them. And then we have our little Stellar's Day, which I thought this turned out great. I'm really excited about it. I will say this one makes it look a little bit too calm. I've never seen these birds anything but kind of like, I don't want to say agitated, but I've never seen these birds look calm. This is just a calm looking Stellar's Day. I feel like normally they're like pretty intense, or like I've never seen them this still. Normally they're just like in the act of yelling at me for like, how dare you not bring me peanuts. But yeah, together we'll make sure there's little prints available if anybody wants one of these. But mostly, it'd be way fun if you ever want to paint along. These will be up on YouTube at some point. We'll include all of those there. Ah, well, there you go. They are very smart. They're so smart. And then yeah, by next week, I'll be likely live streaming from Seward, Alaska, which will be really fun. So down on the coast. Not quite sure what the plans are for the live stream side of things, but they might be fancy because we might be able to have like multiple cameras or something like that. We'll be able to take you somewhere pretty cool and zip out and do some really neat things if it's not raining, which is a pretty low likelihood that it's not raining in Seward. But I think this will be a really fun one. Okay, and let's see. From a YouTube perspective, all of these will be out there. So I'm gonna say good night to goodbye to YouTube here in just a second, and then Twitch, we'll figure out somewhere fun to go raid here in just 1 second. But all of these will be on YouTube at some point, and then keep tabs on us on Trailbound. We are doing some fun things. We're gonna try to be getting, whether they're coloring books available or letters out to people. We're trying to do some really cool fun stuff in the physical world, or sketches to hide. We will figure that out. It's gonna be way fun, but it's just fun to make all this stuff too. So okay, all right, YouTube. This is lovely. Can't wait to put these out there, and do keep in touch on Discord, please. And next week, starting back up on Tuesday, it's going to be some adventures in Seward, Alaska. Oh, and how do we join Discord? Yes, that's right. So on the newsletter, so if you're part of the Trailbound Sketches newsletter, you can find it on the website, just the trailboundsketches.com. .com website. There's a newsletter link. If you sign up for the newsletter, as soon as we send you a newsletter, it has like on the bottom it says how to join Discord, and it's just because in a world of AI and bots and all of that, we like to keep that community real. Like the community keeps it real, but like we want to make sure the community is made out of real people, and it's super fun. So that's there. You can find that there. And if you have any trouble, just send us a message on anything on social or on the email side of I think there's like a little form thing that you can fill out, and we can make sure that you're on there. But it'd be fun. I expect to see at least a couple of these on the Discord already. We've got the best Discord community. They're the coolest. Oh, there you go. Thanks, Jen. Okay. All right. This is lovely. See you, YouTube, and